got a problem with a player being asked or looked at as the most valuable player when he dominates the ball on one end of the court, and we just focus on what he does offensively. We have to look at him on both sides of the ball. And I'm not saying he don't play defense, but he doesn't play it to the same level. Dominate the ball that much on the on offense, then you have to show some dominance on the defensive end. And that's what I like about guys like a Paul George.
The moment Scottie Pippen says anything about LeBron James, the basketball world pays attention. But this time, it goes beyond simple criticism. It's a direct challenge to LeBron's legacy. Because when Pippen claims LeBron has never experienced real pressure, he's questioning everything LeBron has accomplished over more than 2 decades. And that raises the big question. Is there real substance behind Pippen's argument? Or is this simply another chapter in the never-ending battle between the old school and the modern NBA? Here's the angle that rarely gets discussed. When Pippen talks about pressure, he isn't only referring to playoff games. He's talking about an entire era. The 1990s were incredibly physical. Handshake Michael Jordan were expected to dominate without today's spacing, offensive freedom, or player-friendly rules. To Pippen, pressure wasn't created by media headlines or social media debates. It came from taking punishment. He believes he's looking at a completely different environment. The rules have changed. The game has evolved. And from Pippen's perspective, that means the pressure isn't the same as what players faced during his era.
These remarks by Danny Ainge were incredibly irresponsible. First of all, he has a history of throwing unsolicited shots at LeBron, right? So if you remember 6 years ago when Pat Riley put out the official team statement telling Danny Ainge to go bleep himself, basically, that was because Danny Ainge said this on a local radio hit in Boston about LeBron complaining about officiating.
But here's where the conversation becomes more complicated, because saying LeBron has never faced pressure doesn't really hold up when you look at his career. This is a player who entered the NBA with the nickname The Chosen One before he had even played his first game. He carried the Cleveland Cavaliers to the NBA Finals at just 22 years old. He made the decision and instantly became one of the most criticized athletes in sports. He promised championships in Miami and had to back up those expectations under relentless scrutiny. Pressure existed. It's the kind of pressure each era created. Jordan's generation dealt with a more physical game, while LeBron's era has been shaped by nonstop media coverage, social media, and constant public scrutiny. Years ago, a bad performance could disappear from the headlines within days. Today, one poor game can dominate the news cycle, and one missed shot can spread across the internet within minutes. Every decision, every interview, every statistic, and every performance is analyzed in real time. LeBron hasn't just competed on the court. He spent more than 2 decades performing under one of the brightest spotlights any athlete has ever faced. It may be a different kind of pressure than previous generations experienced, but it's pressure all the same.
LeBron being asked to do more. When are we going to acknowledge that LeBron actually half the time doesn't play that much defense?
Now let's take a closer look at what Scottie Pippen may actually be saying, because there's a deeper point behind his comments. During the 1990s, superstar players usually stayed with one franchise, built intense rivalries, and endured years of playoff heartbreak before finally reaching the top. Michael Jordan, for example, lost to the Detroit Pistons several times before eventually breaking through. That journey became part of the pressure, the expectation that you had to keep climbing the same mountain until you finally conquered it. But there's another side to that argument that often gets overlooked. LeBron didn't avoid pressure. He willingly stepped into it. Joining the Miami Heat didn't reduce expectations. It raised them to an entirely new level. From that moment on, anything short of a championship was viewed as a failure. Returning to Cleveland brought another enormous challenge. He promised to deliver a title to a city that had waited generations for one, and the weight of those expectations followed him every step of the way. Then came the move.
Has a problem politically with the president. I'm talking about there's a personal dislike between the two. He knows what he's doing there, and that ain't right. And it's there's no comparison really, because you're talking about one person maybe talking themselves up in LeBron's case, but he's not out of question.
This is where a lot of younger fans misunderstand what pressure really means. They think pressure only exists in a single moment, a Game 7, the final possession, or a championship-winning shot. But true pressure isn't just about one night. It's about carrying impossible expectations year after year without any relief. It's spending 2 decades being compared to Michael Jordan. It's having every defeat remembered while every victory is expected. LeBron's career hasn't been defined by a handful of pressure-filled moments. It's been one continuous test from the day he entered the league. Now consider the numbers. LeBron has reached the NBA Finals 10 times. Just getting there creates more pressure than many players experience throughout their entire careers. He's played in countless elimination games, multiple Game 7s, and must-win situations across different teams and different stages of his career. Think about the 2016 Finals, the legendary Game 7 performance, the incredible 2018 playoff run, and so many other clutch moments. Greater protection, and the game is built around spacing, speed, and skill rather than constant physical contact. As a result, superstars aren't worn down the same way they were during the 1990s. So when Pippen talks about real pressure, he may be referring to the relentless physical battles that defined his generation. But pressure doesn't disappear as the game evolves. It simply changes. Today's stars face nonstop social media criticism, global attention, massive contracts, and the responsibility of protecting their personal brand by hard fouls or physical play. And that's where this discussion becomes much bigger than Scottie Pippen versus LeBron James. It's really about how we define greatness. Does greatness come from dominating in the league's most physical era? Or does it come from adapting to different generations, evolving with the game, and remaining elite for more than 2 decades? Pippen represents one side of that argument. LeBron represents the other. And the reality is that both perspectives have valid points. Now look at today's NBA. A new generation of stars is trying to build its own legacy. Players like Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, and others are entering their prime, and the pressure starts almost immediately. Championship expectations arrive earlier than ever. Social media reacts instantly. Every success and every failure becomes part of a player's story in real time. Yet through all of that, LeBron is still at the center of the conversation. He's still competing, still being compared to everyone who comes after him, and still setting the standard. Pressure means surviving relentless physical punishment and battling through 1990s-style defenses. Then Pippen's argument makes sense. But if pressure means living with impossible expectations, constant scrutiny, and the responsibility of sustaining greatness for over 20 years, then LeBron may be one of the greatest examples the sport has ever seen. Ultimately, the answer depends on how you define pressure. Is it the punishment you absorb on the court, or the expectations you carry every single day once you step off it?